come on, CZ, you were so close. You asked the right questions, you got the right answers, and then just seemingly said, screw it. No one's gonna buy it anyway. In this video, we're taking a deep dive into the brand new 600 rifle by CZ. If you watched any of my prior videos, you've heard me call CZ a cult firearms company. They generally make very good products, particularly their handguns, and those that own them live and breathe them. Outside of those few hardcore gun owners and American gun owners in particular generally don't care or have never heard of them. The best example of this is how the CZ dominates USPSA gun games, with over 60% of competitors at national matches using either a CZ handgun or a CZ clone. Yet the company struggles getting out of low single-digit market share overall. This is why I giggled when I saw CZ's new slogan, which was right on here for those that know. Either someone at CZ Marketing watched my prior videos, or someone has a sick sense of humor poking fun of CZ's primary issue. The CZ 600, however, was in my opinion the company's best chance to put Ruger, Savage, and Bergara on notice, and to really take a slice out of the bolt-action rifle pie. Unfortunately, despite asking all the right questions and coming out with the right solutions, CZ seemingly said, nah, let's have Savage and Ruger dominate the sub $1,000 space. In this video, we're taking a deep dive into the brand new CZ 600 rifle, its innovative features, its shortfalls, the safety recall fiasco, and discuss whether it is right for you. In a separate video, you can find my first impressions and the potential this firearm has as a basis for your next precision rifle build. Once again, if you're new to CZ firearms or the CZ 600, take a look at my launch video linked up here, then get back to this video here. So let's get into it. Over the past year or two, it has been my mission to cover the majority of 6.5 PRC available firearms, especially at that sub $1,000 price point. We've looked at the Ruger Precision, the Ruger Hawkeye Long Range Target, the Mossberg Patriot, and the Savage 110 Tactical. I have since added the Ruger American in 6.5 PRC, which finally arrived after over a year wait, and I found a Howa 1500 in 6.5 PRC a few weeks ago. And of course this, the CZ 600 Alpha in 6.5 PRC. I've been discussing the CZ 600 with my local FFL for a long time now, and then they finally got one. And when I saw it was the 6.5 PRC, I took my cash and handed it over to make this video. As we know it, the CZ 600 is available in the United States in 4 models: the base Alpha, the Safari, and the Hunting Focus Lux, the heavy barreled and woodstock range model, and the Tactical Timmy trail model. And despite 6.5 PRC being an awesome hunting and precision rifle cartridge, CZ chambers 6.5 PRC firearms in the Alpha models only. At the core of the Alpha models are two things. First, we have an aluminum receiver, and second, we have a polymer stock. The Lux and Range models use a steel receiver and wood stocks. The Trail model does utilize the same aluminum receiver, however it comes in a mini chassis. The aluminum does have the advantages of coming with integrated Picatinny rails milled into the receiver. You will, however, have to get scope bases for both the Lux and the Range models. When CZ launched the 600, they also got rid of 3 of their existing actions: the 527 mini action, the tried and true 550 Mauser style actions, and the newer 557 push feed action. The 600 is a newly designed controlled round feed action, kind of. The advantage of controlled round feed action is that the bolt holds or controls the round both during the feeding and then the spent case while ejecting. The 600 is not quite a traditional controlled round feed as it still pushes the round into the chamber. However, if you open the bolt, the round or spent case until you run the bolt all the way back, the ejector pushes the case out. The action is pretty darn smooth and certainly nice for the price point and the factory gun. It feels quite a bit like the Howa 1500. Unfortunately, you do have a cheap plastic bolt shroud which is already nicked after 3 range trips, and the bolt knob is a cheap polymer knob. I do not yet know, but I suspect we should be able to thread on a replacement bolt knob in the near future. The standard CZ 600 bolt uses a 6-lug head with two rows of 3 lugs. The mini actions for calibers such as 223 and 7.62 uses a traditional 3-lug bolt head. What's really cool is the bolt heads are user swappable, letting you go from a standard 308 bolt face to a Magnum bolt face used in 6.5 PRC. So why would we need interchangeable bolt heads? Well, the biggest reason to purchase this rifle is the user swappable barrels, allowing quick caliber changes. Wait, hold on. It's my FFL. Wait. What? CZ wants me to send my rifle back? Oh yeah, the CZ600 has a recall fiasco. The biggest reason why gun owners and the media were excited about the 600 is the user swappable barrels, something that's completely unheard of at this price point. With one gun, you'd be able to go from plinking with cheap 308, compete with 6 Creedmoor, or go extended long range, hunting with 6.5 PRC. My only concern about this was the barrel availability, as the 600 uses locking lugs inside the barrel, making it more difficult for gunsmiths to spin one up. Fortunately, I suppose, this issue is now completely resolved as CZ's recalling the 600 and permanently fixing the barrels in place. CZ found that it was possible to fire the gun even if the barrel was not properly installed. This would potentially cause a kaboom, and not a Glock kaboom. Typically, bolt-action rifles are secured to the receiver using a lock ring. Because they have a standard shank, aftermarket barrels are going to be available pretty much for any bolt-action receiver. With the 600, depending on how CZ permanently attaches the barrels in place, combined with the fact that the locking lugs are in the actual barrel and not the receiver, it is possible that we may not see any aftermarket barrels at all. Speaking of the barrel, the Alpha comes with a semi-heavy contoured cold hammer forged barrel on par with the Savage 110 Tacticals or Ruger Precisions. This is definitely a big win for precision rifle shooters, but will probably be a bit heavy of a contour for hunters. The barrels are also suppressor ready and are threaded 5/8 by 24, and you'll be able to find plenty of muzzle brakes or suppressors in that threading. The 223 and 224 Valk barrels are threaded 1/2 by 28. Fortunately, CZ did not use metric threading for US model. The Alpha models just come with the thread protector, they do not come with any muzzle devices. The Alpha models also use this brand new polymer stock, and I'm quite impressed with how it feels in the hand. When I first saw it, it instantly reminded me of the stocks in a super high-end custom rifles by a company in Russia called Bespoke Guns. The stock is very modern looking with plenty of angles, yet rounded where it needs to be. The palm swell is quite upright and is textured in a soft polymer, definitely the best I've felt on a factory rifle. Now you have a similar pattern going all the way, extending all the way on both sides of the polymer stock towards the front of the forend. On the back we have a nice rubber buttstock pad which definitely takes a bite out of the recoil. On the front and the back of the stock you have 2 molded polymer swivel studs, and you can use these to attach a bipod on the front or a shoulder sling. To remove the stock from the barrel action, you have 2 Torx 25 screws, one holding the magazine release and the other on the front of the trigger guard. Do note that because the trigger guard is in the way, you may have an issue trying to use a torque limiter, such as the one on the Fix-It Sticks kit, to dial in the torque. In order to make it work, and in order to work around this, I had to rearrange the tool. However, this is not possible with every tool. Now, one question that I had and many of you had asked about is whether the stock is in any way bedded or pillared. Polymer and wood, they warp. So gun owners and precision shooters either fiberglass or epoxy bed the stock where it makes contact with the action, and in some cases put in metal pillars in order to have rigid metal to metal contact. You now have companies sell factory rifles at this price point that have metal bedding inside the stock, and we find this in all Ruger American models and Savage 110 models with the Aki stock. While the CZ600 makes an awesome move to have a flat bottom receiver, unfortunately the polymer stock is still polymer stock, subject to warping. Speaking of warping, one of the things that I immediately noticed in the store is that the fore end was rubbing on the barrel right here. So while CZ definitely spent time thinking about the stock, the execution just feels a tad cheap in a number of ways. We also find the same theme with the internal detachable magazine. Now, instead of having an internal and external magazine, CZ went with the detachable box magazine for all models. The magazine does fit inside, making it ideal for hunting. CZ also did an innovative thing by designing a locking feature to the magazine. Simply push the button towards the front and you can no longer drop the magazine. Push it towards the back and it's unlocked, and then you can press the button and release the magazine. Unfortunately, the magazine itself just feels like cheap trash. CZ uses the same polymer magazine for both 6.5 PRC and 308 based cartridges such as 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, and 6 Creedmoor. You can fit either 3 rounds of 6.5 PRC or 5 of the others. On a prior range strip, I did have an issue where I loaded the magazine and the base plate fell off. The other issue is because the magazine is the same as for 308, the 6.5 PRC cartridge barely clears the mag. If you load your own ammo, this means you have to be really close to the standard overall length. You generally don't have this issue with AICS pattern 6.5 PRC magazines. Last, we have the other innovative CZ feature, which is going to be the trigger. From the factory, the CZ600 comes with a user-adjustable trigger. Unlike others such as the Ruger Marksman, the Savage Accu trigger, and the Howa HACT trigger that have a screw that you adjust in and out, there are 4 distinct positions here on the CZ600. And those 4 positions are going to range from 1.3 to 3 pounds. From the factory, my rifle was set to the second lightest. The trigger blade is a standard curved trigger, and interestingly, the safety is integrated into the module. The 600 uses a tang-mounted safety that you push down, and the trigger is ready to go and fire, and you can manipulate the bolt. Pushed up from the bottom, the gun is safe, and the bolt is locked. Now, if you want to open the bolt with the gun unsafe, you would need to depress the bolt release, and then you can manipulate the bolt. Once you close the bolt, however, you will not be able to open it without depressing the release button again. The 6.5 PRC Alpha weighs just under 8 pounds and has an MSRP of $749. Do note that in this environment, some dealers have been marking up and selling for more than MSRP. So how does it shoot? We have a really nice group there at 600 on the steel. So one of the advantages of controlled round feed, and actually, so let me actually demonstrate. I'll use a new round. So a typical controlled round feed, what's going to happen is, typical controlled round feed is when you put it, it's going to feed it from the magazine and it grabs it and it's already held by the extractor. With this one, because it didn't chamber yet, the extractor didn't get around it, so it doesn't control it. But if we do that, and now we pull it out slowly, you can see that the round is in there, and then we can push it back in if we wanted to. So that's what I mean by it's a semi-controlled round feed with a CZ. Now the advantage is you can, depending on how you want, if you want the round to just barely come out, you can do that. Or, so actually let me put a spent case cartridge in there. If you want it to come out with authority, you can do that as well. So that's the advantage. And it comes out basically at the end, there's like a spring. So it's like right at this point, there's a little spring action on the back. It's when you push it back and then it's going to eject the cartridge. Alright, so let's load 3 more. And go for... Alright, so this is another one. Basically, because the magazine, you got to make sure it's all the way in back. There's barely any clearance on this one. And let's see if I try to... It's pushing, it's like forcing the magazines to spread at the bottom, and that's how the base plate can fall out. Come on, CZ. Alright. There we go. Okay. Once again, sticky bolt. Yeah, we do have an extractor mark. I'll probably chrono some of this ammo. Okay. We're on it. Alright, let's go shoot some groups at 100. Okay, so for this we are using Hornady's 143 grain Precision Hunter ammo, and I did take off the suppressor so we can take it out of the equation. However, I did keep the muzzle brake on. It is a radial type design. The barrel is now back to normal temperature, so we have 9 rounds. We'll do 2, let's do a 3 and a 5. So hopefully one shot should get us there. Now I did have it zeroed for 100. So I think we should be back in place. I had it zeroed for 300. Alright. So have my hearing protection on, I'm good. We're shooting behind a glass, so I'm not going to use my sunglasses. Alright, and then we're going to have one more, and then we'll have a 5-shot group. Alright, we have a drone out there, so let's get to shooting. Okay. So, it seems like it's in the perfect position. I'm just about half mil high from where I was aiming, so we'll continue with this. Okay. interesting. Alright. There's our 3-shot group. It did look like we had a shift from the first shot to the next 3. Okay. So, I'm gonna hand feed the next 5-shot group. And let's go just to the left of that. Two touching. Pulled a little bit at the 3, touching. Four. Oh, okay. Alright. Don't fuck this one up. Bam! Holy moly. This gun can shoot. Ah, and I am now out of ammo. I wanted to take a moment and go over some of the data and the groups that we got, simply because there's a lot of information to unpack. So first and foremost, it definitely does seem like this rifle does exhibit a shift between the cold bore and the regular as the rifle warms up, and we saw that shooting steel and also shooting paper for groups. So excluding the cold bore shot, we had a 3-shot group of 0.787 inches, which is not bad at all for behind a crappy tripod. Now the second group, and that's basically the 5-shot group, so we had the first 3 rounds, which were all touching. Then I had the 4th shot, which I initially could not see, and I thought it went into that same hole. But then, as it turned out, it actually was in the diamond itself, and I have it circled. And then we had the 5th shot. Now, the group would be amazing. I did put a note. Did you guys notice the sticky bolt? So it seems like with this lot of Hornady 6.5 PRC ammo, there were a few rounds that were definitely hotter. On the round itself, you had a very big extractor mark, and we also had sticky bolt trying to get it up. That basically is a sure sign that the round was hotter, possibly a little bit over pressure. And with that, with velocity changes, it's not unheard of to actually see such shifts. So I measure the group 2 ways. So number 1, if we did it as a 3-shot group, we definitely would have a 0.3 or less MOA 3-shot group. Then if we actually count the flyer, the 4th round, we have a 1-inch group for a 5-shot, which is still extremely respectable. And then if we do exclude that and say that, hey, it was actually the ammo, then we have a .329 4-shot group, which is by far the best out of any factory rifle that we've seen, which of course basically says, hey, you know what, this rifle does have a lot of potential as a basis for a precision rifle build. Of course, that is only part of the equation. Bottom line, and is it right for you? CZ's new slogan is for those that know. At first, I thought it was a joke. This was precisely what we discussed in my earlier videos. CZ has been a cult brand in the United States, and those that know CZ love CZ, but the vast majority of people have never heard of CZ or simply think it's a country. CZ 600 could have been the rifle to break CZ out of that niche brand and turn them into more of a household name. While they would have a very long way to go towards becoming a Ruger, a Savage, or a Remington, they certainly could have competed with the Bergaras, the Brownings, the Christensen, Mossbergs, and Brownings. CZ certainly had the right ingredients to make it the go-to rifle recommendations in the under $1,000 space, with every feature gun owners would want to own. An awesome contoured stock, a smooth action, and accuracy that'll be good enough to build a great precision rifle off of. Then you add in the user swappable caliber changes and it's a home run. But then the make it sucky department came in and decided that they should appease European shooters with the caliber choices, appease the bean counters with the lack of any bedding in the stock and the cheap plastic magazines, and then there's the whole rollout fiasco. They launched the gun quite after announcing it and then immediately pulled them off the market for the recall. As of the time of making this video, they are not back for sale. Before the recall, I would say that this is the rifle without competition. Now that CZ is to fix the barrels permanently in place, we now have this rifle competing with everything else. If you plan on keeping the gun stock, it's quite good in its current configuration. However, if you like to upgrade and tinker with your firearms, I definitely think the 600 is going to have a small aftermarket, especially when it comes to barrels and replacement stocks and chassis. Beyond that, I think we still need to know what CZ's eventual goal with the 600 will be. Are we possibly going to fix the barrel swappability, or are we going to forget it? So, just as we had with prior CZ models, if you're a CZ fan, yeah, you'll pick up the 600. Otherwise, I would wait to see what CZ's plans are for the future. Unless you never modify your firearms, it's tough to recommend purchasing a firearm for which there'll be most certainly be a limited aftermarket without ability to easily swap barrels when you burn yours out. So that's my take on the brand new CZ 600 that I purchased with my own money that CZ wants to get back. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you're interested in the 600, do take a look at my previous video linked up here. As always, thank you for watching, keep on squatting, and I'll see you in the next video linked above.